Hello and welcome to Richmond Kickers Weekly. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who was there on Saturday to see the Kickers lose 3-0 to North Texas.
I was.
Yeah.
I missed one of the goals. I thought it was 2-0. I wasn't so bummed out. I asked my wife why she was so disappointed, and she said, well, because it's 3-0. I missed one of the goals while getting beer.
I'll be honest, because it was CVSA night, which is our local amateur league, we had a box essentially for all of us. I didn't think we paid as much attention to the game at the time as we should have. But we've rewatched it, thanks to ESPN Plus. We've gone back and rewatched it, and it's still 3-0. On the rewatch.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
We didn't miss 3 late equalizers, unfortunately.
We did not. I did appreciate North Texas SC for living up to the hype that I had spread around my friends and family who had traveled with me to that game.
Well, you watch Ricardo Pepi.
Pretty much.
Kid's 16, plays for the U17s. You should be scared of him.
I think I may have said at the time that he was 17, in fact. And then I corrected myself midway through the game to say that he's, actually 16, even though he looks like a grown man and scores goals like he is too.
That's fair. A very talented grown man is how he scores goals. I think the thing we need to talk about is what's going wrong for the Kickers. Because this is 4 losses in a row.
3 in the league, 1 in the cup.
Yep, so 4 losses in a row. I do want to put this disclaimer at the top. I think I'm not as disappointed in this as a lot of other people seem to be, including Coach David Buelow, who I think he looked not happy at the end of this game, right? He
was definitely not happy. We saw him standing behind the advertisements at midfield. I think he was gripping them white-knuckle style. Such was his frustration.
Yeah.
I talked to the Kickers goalkeeper coach after the game. He kind of indicated that there was a decent amount of frustration, both amongst the players and the coaching staff as well. So it's not necessarily a result that they should not have expected, but it's also not one that they should have expected. Okay, so this is what I'm getting at. I'm not saying this as an excuse, but I think it's a good frame for this game. North Texas is the best team in the league. Yes.
North Texas is the best team in USL League One. It is, in some ways it's weird that it's a bunch of kids, right? They're 16, 17, 18 for the most part. A lot of them are either, they've got an FC Dallas contract, but they're loaned down to North Texas, or they're in the academy and they're also playing for North Texas. But they are very, very talented. For those who don't know, the FC Dallas Development Academy is among the top 2 or 3 in the United States, right? New York Red Bulls, maybe Seattle Sounders, that's just starting to bear fruit. But there's no argument that you can't argue against the idea that FC Dallas is maybe the best academy in the United States. Weston McKennie came through there. Chris Richards came through there. A bunch of the current FC Dallas players came through there. These are the next kids on that production line. And they're a class above, and I think you could really see it in this game. Yeah, I mean, 3 of those academy players start for FC Dallas on the regular. 2 of them are playing for the US U20s regularly in the U20 World Cup. And you could absolutely see they beat France.
You could see they did. You could see why those players are having such success, because these players from North Texas SC are having such success playing a very attractive style of soccer that evidently is very difficult to defend against. It is, and I think this is my take on this game is that Texas were much better at applying defensive pressure than the Kickers, and also much better at absorbing defensive pressure than the Kickers were. And I think that gets to the heart of a Richmond Kickers problem, is that we're a little bit sort of challenging teams up saying, okay, we're going to play this possession soccer. And I think it's no coincidence that the teams that apply defensive pressure successfully, either high up the field like Lansing did, or just in a concentrated way, like a hassling way,
in a hassling way, like North Texas do, then the Kickers suddenly seem to be in trouble.
Yeah,
is that fair?
This is a bit hyperbolic here, but do you remember the videos of the 1974 Dutch team at the World Cup where they all just you'll see all of them go swarming?
Yeah.
And you keep wondering why does that work? How do these guys not know to pass around that? There were moments on Saturday in rewatching it where that's what it feels like, where it's just it doesn't seem like it should work. North Texas will just send 2 or 3 to mark one person, they win the ball, and then 6 of them go and attack really fast, and yet they're able to maintain possession, keep the ball, and if they do end up giving it away, it's usually via getting dispossessed in and around the kicker's box, or the shot goes wide for a goal kick or something like that. But it never feels like they were being punished or necessarily caught out, which is insane for how many players they would commit forward and commit into certain parts of the field.
Is there an idea that maybe the Kickers thought we'll play some grown men against them, and I think we'll be able to beat them up, and they found out otherwise.
I say yes, and I would say it. I don't have any information to back that up, but I think what really comes to mind is that feels like what happened against Orlando away, when Orlando were second bottom of the table, I think, or second bottom from the table. I think it was their first win against the Kickers, but it felt to me like a Kickers team that went in there thinking, this isn't a very good team, it's a bunch of kids, we'll knock them around, we'll boss them, and it looked similar to what we saw on Saturday. Kickers were a little bit more energetic, had a bit better ball movement at times against North Texas, but the root of it seemed to be, like, I'll knock this kid off the ball. Oh, they won't be able to win the ball. I mean, they're good, but they're still 16. We can win it, and it wasn't quite that level that you need to be at.
The one bit of evidence I would hold for this, or the reason I kind of think this, is the team selection.
Yep.
So David Bulow went with Boateng as a centre forward, and then Jackson wide right, and Chin wide left.
Yep.
And I would argue that Jackson and Chin are sort of basically bigger guys, but not as fast guys as the alternative selections, which would have been Bolduc and Mwape on the wings. And I think we sacrificed pace for strength, thinking that would be enough to maybe bully these teenagers from North Texas, and we failed at bullying. And I think maybe, if you're ready to get to it, the first goal is maybe the best example of us failing at bullying these teenagers.
I'm actually not quite ready to get to it, because I have a question for you then. If you are going to go with that sort of bullying approach that we're going to get two big, strong dudes in there, they're going to knock people off the ball, doesn't it make more sense, though, for those two to be central, as sort of like, we'll hoof it long, they'll bring it down? I guess maybe, I don't disagree with you, but I still then wonder, why was it Boateng in the middle and Chin and Jackson kind of out on the wings? We've seen Chin on the wings this season. He's played left wing.
Yeah.
But why would you put the two of them out there? And the only thing I can think is that you have like kind of outlets into the channels that are fast and more so physical and can hold that ball up. That's the only thing I can think. And then you can have kind of overlapping runs from your fullbacks potentially.
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me essentially. But I also think when you don't have Bolduc and Mwape and you have Jackson and Chin instead, because you don't have the pace, you're up against a team that has a lot of pace, essentially because they're teenagers. And I know this isn't like very deep analysis, but teenagers tend to be fast.
This is true, yeah. And they got a point to prove. They're trying to cement their roles with this team, or maybe get some minutes with FC Dallas. So they're not going to quit. They're going to keep coming at you.
But just literally, they're just quick.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think we failed to keep up with them more than once. You ready to talk about that first goal now?
Sure.
It starts with failed pressure from the Richmond Kickers, right? So Boateng goes over, puts a bit of pressure on. The ball goes out to Gomez, Jonathan Gomez, the North Texas left back. And Daniel Jackson on the right is basically slow to come and apply pressure. We know he's slow because Gomez gets to receive the ball and take a touch before Jackson comes to him. Also, you can see Boateng slightly just gesturing. And it wasn't the first time I'd seen it in the game. It's in the 27th minute. Gesturing like, hey, go close him down, go close him down. I think Jackson was just a bit slow to step to him. I think that's where the problem starts for this goal.
I would agree, but I think then it's compounded by when Jackson does eventually step. I don't really know what his approach is, because it's not clear if he's trying to force them down the line or if he's just trying to put the pressure on. But he doesn't really take anything away, so there are still options through the middle. But instead, what ends up happening is the ball goes to is it Ronaldo? Is it
Ronaldo Damas?
I always want to say Ronaldo, and then I second guess myself.
Yeah, why would he be called Ronaldo?
Exactly.
But Ronaldo Damas
goes to Ronaldo Damas, who is now wide open because that angle hasn't been taken away. So now you have Braden Troyer, who has to kind of decide, am I going to just hold him up? Am I going to try to win the ball? Am I going to try to put him under a lot of pressure? What he ends up going for is, I'm going to try to step in front and win. And this,
I think, thinking I'm the bigger guy, I'm a grown man, I'm 100%. A professional, this is a kid. And he's not going to know what to do. He's on the end line. I'm going to put him under pressure. He's going to turn out for a throw in, or he's going to cough up possession. We'll counter attack. We'll be good. I'm just going to knock him over and take the ball.
Yeah, and it really just felt like, haha, I will step around you, and you have no idea it's coming. Except all Ronaldo Damas does is do exactly what you do in that moment, which is ball coming to you. If your back is to the defender and they start running around like to your left, you just turn and open up your hips and let the ball roll by, block off that defender, and you're away. And Braden Troyer falls over because he does not see this coming.
And then Damas is away.
Yep.
Damas has a huge, because Troy's the right back, okay, for those who didn't know. Then Damas can just accelerate down that left wing. This goal ends with I think he's the right winger, Dante Seeley, being wide open at the back post. I think the fact that he's wide open at the back post is because everybody has shuffled over to try and fill that space, because Troy is no longer there. The left flank is exposed. The entire team gets dragged over. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is. And then within that, there's other moments of kind of head scratching. Like Josh Hughes goes to the ground, wins a slide tackle, but it goes right back to
Damas.
Ronaldo Damas. And looking around, Damas is really the only one in that area who's like alive to the ball and trying to get to it, trying to make a play. There are 3 other Kickers players around who are all kind of standing there like, oh, good, we got a slide tackle. And then to your point, like I'm sure that Scott Thompson, the left back, knows that Sealy is out wide. He's probably tracked him back there, but because everybody starts getting pulled over, now Magales, who was the left center back, he slides over.
Yes, and Pepi.
Yeah. And so now I think Scott Thompson thinks, okay, we'll all slide over too, and that's why it's so like laughably wide open is Sealy for that goal.
There is an element of bad luck because when the ball does come back to Damas, he's trying to shoot.
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely trying to bend it into that far corner. Magales, who has stepped away from Pepi, which you could question that decision, but he's the only one in a position to block that shot. He does block that shot, but what he does is deflect it to the far post, to the open Dante Sealy. So there's an element of bad luck because Magales kind of did the right thing.
Game of Thrones Season 8 spoiler of sorts coming at you. So, I don't know, plug up your ears for like 30 seconds. But there's an air of like the army of the undead around North Texas FC because they just swarm and swarm and swarm. And even if you stop one, even if you slide tackle one, they get the ball back. And then even if you block the shot, there's still somebody there.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm saying is that
you're saying Luchi Gonzalez is the Night King?
No, Dante Sealy is the Night King because everybody else is distracted while he just calmly is there to do his job.
Yeah. 1-0
Yes.
North Texas. Speaking of doing his job. Should we go to the second goal?
Yes, and Game of Thrones spoilers complete.
In the 55th. We didn't really say what happened to the Night King, right? It's not that he scores a goal against the Kickers.
That could be the end.
It'd be a very Richmond-specific show.
It'd be a little bit better, maybe.
55th minute, it becomes 2-0.
Yep.
It's the best goal of the night. It's that Ricardo Pepi goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a pretty goal. It's a pretty goal, but it is, again, the beauty of the goal and the technical ability to turn and hit that ball the way Ricardo Pepi does not excuse all that comes before it because it's another sort of awkward moment from the Richmond Kickers. I think they're trying to play out of the pressure from North Texas SC. I think Josh Hughes, who gets the ball, takes... You could say it's a heavy touch. I think that's what the commentator said. I think he just recognizes I can kind of maybe get away from these 2 defenders and then I'll have time on the ball. But I think he just doesn't notice that there are other North Texas SC players around.
Yeah, so he tries to accelerate basically. He does accelerate past the first defender or maybe second defender. I can't remember who the name of the North Texas player that receives the ball.
It's Dante Sealy.
It's Dante Sealy. So,
the Night King.
So it rolls straight into Dante Sealy, right? And Josh Hughes has given away possession in a very dangerous spot. I did not say Siri.
Apparently, Dante
I wasn't talking to you, Siri.
Wow. Daryl's phone is so desperate to be in on the conversation that when we said Dante Sealy, Siri decided to start talking. Hey, Dante Sealy, can you stop scoring goals on us? Did it do anything?
I've turned her off. Siri is gone.
Yeah. So again, it's a good interception because Dante Sealy's in the right place.
Yep.
But it's also not a giveaway that needed to happen from the Kickers.
And before we talk about Ricardo Pepi's turn and finish, I think it's worth talking about part of the problem with why this happened.
Sure.
It was North Texas applying decent pressure and the Richmond Kickers essentially failing to build out of the back, which is a huge problem because this is the approach of the Kickers this season. They're a possession team that builds from the back, going through their central midfielders like Maxi Rodriguez and Josh Hughes. Yep. And if those players are giving the ball away in central midfield, suddenly that's a huge problem because we're like exposed, right? But also because I think this illustrates a problem where Hughes didn't have that many options. You know what I'm saying? Like part of the reason he takes that acceleration is that he didn't have someone 6 yards away to pass to. I think a thing I noticed in this game, and I think has been a pattern throughout the season, is centre-backs have the ball, they give it to either Rodriguez or Hughes who've come deep, full-backs are out wide, and then for me, there's too much of a gap between that group of players and the attacking group of players. There's too much of a gap. There's never an easy ball option to move the ball forward over a short distance. Yep. It's asking a lot, and you end up with situations where Josh Hughes takes this big risk. Absolutely does not pay off because it gives the ball away.
And I think it to me seems like the Kickers are of two minds, where it's like drop in, everybody kind of comes back, we get numbers in our own half, but then we can move the ball quickly and find options. But then the other one is, well, we got to stretch them and kind of keep them from like locking us in our own half, so we're going to keep some numbers forward and we don't want to drop too many back. And then you end up, I think the way you described it off air was like you've got your back four who are all kind of in a position to move the ball, you've got two midfielders dropping in, and then you've got a bunch of grass.
Yeah.
And that really is what it looks like. And it goes back to, I increasingly am of the mind of like it not just with the Kickers, but generally speaking, like it doesn't make as much sense to me anymore to have that one central midfielder drop all the way back, and it's usually Maxi Rodriguez, and it's usually between the two center backs, and I get the idea of it. But if you're going to end up having these huge amount of grass line, it doesn't really work that well. And I think I would rather see center backs on the ball who can kind of play those balls 15, 20 yards forward to where you've got maybe Max Rodriguez with Josh Hughes, and now you can go combine in the middle with the two people there, or they can turn and kind of spread it wide. And
even better, I think what really needs to happen is the attacking midfielders, like say Gallardo and the wide midfielders, need to be dropping in deep and showing and maybe rotating a little bit so there's a bit more movement.
I forgot.
So that there are more options.
I forgot the other issue that we probably should have stumbled upon faster is that the other thing the Kickers, I think, try to do is, all right, bear with me, but I think this is worth noting. So if Maxi Rodriguez drops in, center back spread wide, right? So now you've got almost the back three. That pushes the fullbacks forward. Usually what that then does is those two wingers, like the wide attackers, they usually then move more central. So now you've got Hughes and Gallardo and those two wingers who have come more central, and theoretically you have four players in the middle that you can play through as well as the fullbacks out wide.
Yeah, that's the theory, I think.
But if you have Daniel Jackson, who hasn't done that very much this season, maybe he's not as quick to move centrally to support, or maybe in this case, we didn't see a lot of that from him or Chin. So maybe they are trying
Chin's done it before a bit more successfully, but I take your point.
But maybe in this game, because what we talked about previously, the physicality, we can look for them as the outlets. So now they're staying further up top and they're staying wide. So instead of moving central, they're staying wide. The fullbacks are wide. The forwards are stretched. And now you're never going to have numbers in the middle. And so
it's really
from the
hard
outset, you're in a lot of trouble.
Then you're asking Gallardo to find space when there's a lot of Texas players between him and, say, Rodriguez or Hughes. I think it's a tough ask for Gallardo to get open. Right? When you're the number 10, you're a marked man, quite literally.
And so what I think we're circling around is the idea that this was a case of an unstoppable force meeting a very movable object. I feel like the Kickers needed to have their best game and have their best possible setup in order to handle the best team in the league, and I think they were not ready for it.
I think the Kickers tried to play their game, the style that they've been working on all season, and that just doesn't necessarily work against North Texas. There maybe should have been a different approach to North Texas.
I take your point. I still
maybe
think
some respect for the best team in the league. Maybe this is a game where you sit back a little bit.
Yeah, that would have maybe have possibly worked.
Frustrate those teenagers.
But I'm also saying I don't think they did play their game the way they usually do. Is I guess what I'm saying. I think they tried to tweak it a little bit, but I think
with
also
the different wide players.
I think also they weren't then set up well to do that, and I think in the end it didn't necessarily work across the board.
Can we give props to... I'm not disagreeing. I'm sort of nodding in agreement, but I just realised people can't hear that through the microphone. We should give props to Ricardo Pepi for that finish, though.
Oh, absolutely.
When Seeley sort of essentially bends the ball into him, Pepi has his back to goal, and he's, maybe 30 yards from goal? One touch and turn, and he's 20 yards from goal, and bang, top corner. It is an incredible bit of... craftsmanship from a striker.
And then it's 20% better because it tings off the underside of the bar, so it does that bang, bang, bang sort of bounce thing at the end of it that makes it look like it was struck even harder than it maybe was.
It gave me, when I saw it live, a moment of, oof, I feel bad for the Kickers. I'm real glad Ricardo Pepi is a US Youth International. It made me optimistic for the future. He really looks like a player.
Yes, he does.
Oh, okay. And then he also inaugurated a kind of nightmare few minutes for the Richmond Kickers. I think there was a bit of... I don't know, just having seen that goal go past you, I think maybe there's a bit of shock on the Kickers' faces.
But we've been in those games where it's you think things are kind of right and okay, we're starting to move the ball, we're getting some chances, and then in a half a second it's just thwack back of the net and oh no, okay, we're totally not back in this game.
And I should get the time right. I think I said 55th minute. It was actually the 63rd minute that Ricardo Pepi scores that goal. I think I was getting confused with the U20 game we talked about earlier. So 63rd minute Ricardo Pepi scores the goal. 5 minutes later... David Rodriguez has scored again for North Texas.
Yes. And they're able to basically just move the ball quickly without much opposition. The Kickers try to step, but again, similar to what we talked about with the first goal, it felt like one player steps, they're bypassed, and because they've stepped, they've left the spot.
With North Texas with the ball in the back, and the Kickers eventually... all the front three kind of charge out, and everybody's just suddenly wide open. It was not successful pressure.
It's fingers in the dam. It's a lot of okay, I've got that one plugged. Oh no, but now that one's popped up open, so somebody else will go plug that one. But then they've left their man, and so in the end, it's players just continuously popping up for North Texas, but it's also North Texas being able to take advantage of that. I forget who it was who subbed on, but he has a 30-yard chipped ball from the center of the field out wide to the touchline that's brought down with great skill, and then it's another quick combination, and it's just great passing and moving from North Texas that leads to eventually the third goal.
You said said it was someone who subbed on. North Texas only made one sub at that point, so that means it was, by process of elimination, Sherlock Holmes style,
I also know that you only
Tanner Tessman.
There we go. You have fewer than 10% left in your battery as well on that iPad, so I was wondering if you make it in time.
It'll get us through.
But well done, Tanner, and well done, David Rodriguez, who I believe ends up getting the goal.
Yes, he does. David Rodriguez with the finish in the end. It includes a bit of a mistake from Megales.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. He does a good job tracking the through ball, gets to it first, but when he makes the sort of the interception or the attempted clearance, he just kind of lays it off to the right wing, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly we're back in trouble again. I think it's Megales ends up having to try and defend that as well, right? And he gets sort of bypassed. I can't remember who it is. The attacker drives to the end line. Is that Tessman? Drives to the end line and then is able to cut it back for the second goal.
I'm not sure
Third
who that
goal,
was,
excuse me.
but it's well done from David Rodriguez to just finish calmly. There is, I think, Akira Fitzgerald slides back over, isn't quite able to get there. There are defenders in front, though, so it's a good finish. But I think this goal, if there were one goal that I think made David Bulow pull his hair out, it's probably this one.
I'm sorry, it's Dante Sealy with the assist.
There we go.
It must have ended up with Dante Sealy, who's the one who drives at Megales, goes past him, cuts it back.
1 goal and 2 assists for Dante Sealy, by the way.
Not bad. 16 years old as well.
But I think this, as I said, this is the one where maybe David Bulow, we see him get really frustrated, and I think justifiably so, because with everything we've said about how North Texas played smart and found space and had the technical brilliance on the ball, it's still the Kickers have a chance to get rid. Like Megales, as you said, could just put this out for a throw-in.
Put it in Section O.
Yeah, or maybe with a little bit more like calmness on the ball, can take another touch and play it down the line, and then the Kickers can counterattack the counterattack. But it's that just sort of giving it right back to North Texas and then being punished for it that is sort of representative, I think, of this evening as a whole.
Yes. So not a good evening for the Richmond Kickers. I mean, I'm not sure what to say, except we just hope it goes better in the next game. It's away to FC Tucson on Saturday. It's the biggest trip in USL League One. I don't know how the Kickers are getting there. They're flying or going on the coach.
I believe the league requirements are that they fly.
Okay,
I think
great.
There's a certain limit that you can't take a bus past, basically.
Excellent. Okay, yeah. I hope the Kickers fly to Arizona. Yeah?
Yep.
Tucson, Arizona. Yeah, like the Beatles.
Yep.
Is
that a thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jojo left his home in Tucson, Arizona. Yeah, let's get back. Let's hope the Kickers can get back on track.
I used to think it was Winslow,
Tucson.
Minnesota, and I was confused by that.
So it's a 7:30 local kickoff, 10:30 Eastern on Saturday against FC Tucson. This is the last team that the Kickers beat before this 4-game losing streak, so hopefully we can get back to winning ways.
I'm sure they will be feeling the same. I'm sure they'll be working on that in practice and hopefully cutting out some of the mistakes that will allow them to correct the skid.
Okay, anything else to say before we shut this down?
Nope, that's about it.
All right, then let's have the maybe the best performers of Saturday night, the Red Army, who stayed.
North Texas SC?
No, well, okay, the second best performers of the night. The Red Army were in good voice all night. Protested every referee decision, as we expect them to do, and sung loud and proud. So let's have the Red Army play us loud.